Hi everyone, it's Lindsay here. I'm so sorry it's taken me so long to post another video. Thank you for being patient. So let's get right to it. I have been asked to do this video by a few people, so without further ado, this is how to pick your hypnotherapist. So like I said, I've had a lot of people ask for this, and I think there's a little confusion when it comes to, the practice in general of hypnotherapy. But more than that, there's also confusion about what makes a hypnotherapist different from one another. So there's going to be, not every profession is a cookie cutter type. You have different doctors, different dentists, different baristas. So of course hypnotherapists aren't all going to be the same. Now the school I studied and worked at happens to be one of only 2 schools in the country that are specifically accredited by the Board of Education for hypnotherapy. So depending on where you live in the United States, you might have different rules for the hypnotherapists in the practice of hypnotherapy. So now that you know this, it might be a little bit more important to you to research who you want to work with and who kind of fits with your personality and what makes them qualified. So I've broken it down into 3 main points that are really important to look for when you're finding a hypnotherapist. So training. So because of the lack of regulation in this field, somebody who maybe lives in an unregulated state could take a weekend course or a 10-hour course, and they do exist, and then think that that's all the training they need to start seeing clients and getting paid for it. I would hope that my clients would want to know that I had more training than that to be working with the deepest, darkest part of their mind. So therefore it must fall on the prospective client to do the research and try to find out, exactly the kind of training that the professional has. You can find most people's training in the About section or the About Me section on their website. If they don't have that section on their website, that might be the first red flag. You can always call and ask, how much training do you have? And just kind of feel them out and see how it feels for you. But most people will display how much training they have. For example, here's my site where you can easily reference my biography as well as my level of training, which is 1 year from start to end, where I received my honors diploma in clinical hypnotherapy with over 200 hours dedicated just to clients at the time of graduation. Since then, I've accumulated about 200 additional hours in specialty and separate certification areas, and I'm still always learning. So don't let fancy websites or terminology fool you into thinking that someone is more qualified than they are. And P.S., certifications are one thing, but there are no doctorates or degrees in hypnotherapy legally. There just aren't. So if anybody says that they are a doctor in hypnotherapy or have a PhD in hypnotherapy, I would ask a lot more questions. When in doubt, you can always just call them up and ask. You're probably going to have to do that anyway because you're going to need to hear how they speak, how they sound, how they feel to you, and that way you can judge how well you're going to work with them. So that brings me to my second point. Okay, the vibe. Now every personality is different, we know this, so not every personality is going to vibe with yours, and that's okay. So you need to find somebody who fits you, and the feel of that person is just as important as their training, because if they have all the training in the world and yet you just don't vibe with them, you're just not going to have success and they're not going to be able to do their best work. So make sure that it's somebody that speaks your language. Just because somebody happens to have a practice in your town or the neighboring town that you live doesn't necessarily mean that you have to work with them. That's why, I've said it before, I love Skype, and now I've been using Zoom a lot, which is, the kind of the same video call, virtual meeting type of thing. And it gives me such range to be able to work with so many more people all over the world and help so many more people. And it also gives my clients a choice. You don't have to work with somebody that's just down the street. You can actually find somebody who fits you. So super important. And don't rule out Skype and Zoom. They're just as effective and powerful as sessions, in person. And if you're excited about somebody, if you want to work with them, there's always options. You can always call them and ask them if they can do a virtual session. The third point I want to get to is their experience. Experience is important for obvious reasons, but that's not to say that somebody that just finished their training won't be able to work with you very, very effectively. But if it's important to you, definitely ask them questions. How long have they been doing this? And more importantly, do they have experience with what you are looking for? For instance, if you want to quit smoking and they've never done a session for quit smoking, you might have some questions, you might have some concerns. So maybe looking for somebody that specializes in what you're seeking hypnotherapy for would be a good start. So these are kind of the three, main points. And of course, at the end of the day, ask as many questions as you can think of, and make sure that you are feeling good about this person and that they are working with you the way that you feel good about. Of course, there are many more things to consider when you're choosing a professional to work with, but these are just probably the main points, and you can't really go wrong if you're checking all these boxes. So good luck in your search. I hope you find the right person to work with you and have lots of success with hypnotherapy. Okay, that's it for me for now. Make sure you subscribe for more so you don't miss anything that's coming up. I promise I'll be posting more. I hope I gave you some good bits of info, and I will see you next time. All right, guys, take care. Bye.